Today's video is going to be my theory on Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, I know I talked about it briefly in the Avengers Doomsday theory, but there wasn't a lot of information out at the time. But since then, there's been castings, there's been rumors, so now we have a lot of information on what we think the movie will be about, so I can give my full prediction. We'll talk about the castings, who I think they'll be playing, why I think they're in this movie, why they're playing the role, the positives and negatives of these castings. And then at the end of the video, we'll talk about my full theory and my full prediction of how I think the movie will go and how it will lead into Avengers Doomsday. If you're watching, please like the video. It does a lot for me. It pushes this video out to a lot more people. And if you're new here, please subscribe. But without further ado, let's get into this video. Now, the first casting we're gonna be talking about is insane. It came completely out of left field. I would have never thought this would be happening. But Mark Ruffalo is rumored to be returning as Bruce Banner and the Hulk in Spider-Man Brand New Day. So for the most part, we'll say this is pretty solidified, but again, this is a rumor. Also, quick fun fact, if you do not know, Spider-Man and Bruce Banner or the Hulk, they never had a line together. They never had a scene or a interaction into the MCU. So a lot of people are like, how does this make any sense of how they would even be interacting if they never interact before? And now that everybody has lost memory of Peter Parker and who he is, why would Bruce Banner like be in this movie to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I thought maybe like a teacher or professor or something like that, or maybe Bruce Banner is helping out somebody else. But I thought that was very interesting. Maybe there will be like a scene where Tony and Bruce Banner has spoke about Spider-Man before. Maybe he bragged about him to him, how smart he is, how good of a kid he is, etc. I'm assuming that has had to happen at some point in the MCU. That would make the most sense. Now, if you're wondering why Spider-Man can never just have a movie on his own and be just the only superhero in his movie and face all the problems himself, well, Tom Holland's Spider-Man is obviously under Sony, and Marvel and Disney basically own Marvel Universe now. With Tom Holland being in the MCU, that's where the contract comes into play. And in that contract, there has to be a major MCU star, etc. in that movie. That's the contract that they have with Sony. That's the only way the Spider-Man movies will work. Spider-Man Homecoming, Iron Man was in that movie. Spider-Man Far From Home, Nick Fury was in that movie. Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange was in that movie. And of course, all the other Spider-Man. So that's why Hulk would probably be in this movie, because they have to have another like MCU star, like an MCU face. A casting that is not rumored but is officially confirmed by herself is Sadie Sink will be in this movie as well. She had multiple interviews about people guessing on who her casting is and who she'll be playing. For me personally, I think she could be playing two characters, but we'll talk about that in a second. And the last rumor that we have is Mr. Negative. He might be the villain for this movie as well. They're looking for an Asian actor around the 30-40-year-old range. And I think Mr. Negative obviously fits that prescription, and he would be an amazing villain for this time in Spider-Man's life where he's already depressed. Mr. Negative has a dark force. I think this will be a very good feat for Spider-Man, and it has a lot of potential for this movie if this is true. And the main reason why people think Mr. Negative is going to be in the villain, because there is a Spider-Man comic called Spider-Man Brand New Day, and it's basically like a reset on his life, and Mr. Negative is one of the main antagonists in that run as well. I think he loses Harry in that comic. He also loses Mary Jane, like they're not dating no more. And in that comic, the main thing was about like him having a brand new life and struggling, trying to find his fitting while everything changed for him. So it would make sense why after Spider-Man No Way Home, it would be Spider-Man Brand New Day, and it's going to be based off that comic, but that's just my assumption. So let's talk about the Hulk and the positives and negatives and why I think he's here, if there's really a good fit or not. Let's talk about Bruce Banner and Mark Ruffalo coming back as the Hulk. When you truly think about it, we all love the Russo brothers. They never missed a Marvel movie. They made every single good Avengers movie, Winter Soldier, etc. One thing that they messed up on was how they treated the Hulk. The Hulk got beat up by Thanos, which is completely fine, but they had a very unrealistic take of the Hulk not coming out anymore. So Mark Ruffalo was Bruce Banner for most of the time. He had to get put in the Iron Buster suit, and a lot of fans don't like Smart Hulk. I don't like him either. So a positive I have is that this will be a really good opportunity to fix this mistake that they caused. But when this is going to be the last movie leading up to Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, you do not want Smart Hulk to be in those two movies. We need the real Hulk to be back, especially if we're going to be taking on Doctor Doom and all these other crazy villains that's going to be in this next movie. I do have a negative as well. The Hulk coming back is only going to mean one thing. If he is going to be turning back into Savage Hulk, that means we're going to have another movie where a villain's main goal and plan is to turn the Hulk back to normal so the Hulk can look like a villain and disrupt the city. Again, we just seen that with Captain America Brave New World. That's what the Thinker's whole job was. It was to make sure that Thunderbolt Thaddeus Ross turns into the Red Hulk and basically destroys everybody in his path. Wanda did the same thing to Hulk when he destroyed the whole city. That was Loki's plan all along as well. When we seen the whole Hulk chasing after Black Widow scene, to me it would feel overused because we've seen this so many times. But I would sacrifice that if that means we're able to get the Savage Hulk back into his regular form in the MCU for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. And I need Marvel to like understand there's versions of Hulk where he is always Hulk all the time and he is not Smart Hulk. He basically has taken over for Bruce Banner. And he is very calm. He's not just fighting every single thing in his path. He's able to control himself. That's the Hulk that we should have. Like, he should always stay in Hulk form. I love Bruce Banner. I don't want to see Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner anymore. I really don't. I'd rather have Hulk be in his form all the time, him being in controlled, but having his motions controlled and be calm. That's the best version of Hulk that we get. So I think this will be a really good opportunity for them to change that. Now, the next person we're going to be talking about is Mr. Negative, and why I think he's going to have a huge role and part as being a villain in this movie. Now, a little bit background on Mr. Negative, if you don't know who he really is as a character. He still is like a quote-unquote like crime boss in a way. He's a leader of the group called the Inner Demons. Like, that's what they kind of do. They rob banks and all this other stuff. They do heists. But he's still like a businessman at like current face. For Mr. Negative powers, this really comes down as it's very, very simple. So it's obviously energy centered, but he has something called the Dark Force, which causes like corruption for other people he uses it on. He can corrupt people's minds. He has the negative touch. Whoever he touches and whoever he uses his power on, they get into a really, really dark place. Shapeshift, mind control. He is very, very strong. He's very, very powerful, which will be very tough for Spider-Man. And at Spider-Man's point in time in his life where he is super depressed, he just lost everybody, no family, no girlfriend, he's struggling having a job right now, Mr. Negative would be able to get us so emotional about Tom Holland's Spider-Man getting into his depression. We'll see these flashbacks of what his life was before he had the spell with Doctor Strange. Spider-Man as a character, that's what he's all about. It's like his life sucks. Peter Parker's life is terrible. And I feel like this will give us the most potential, the most possibility to see something like that for Tom Holland's character, because it really is just starting. Like Spider-Man No Way Home, after he pretty much lost everything and now he's about to be on his own, that should be the main focus of his storytelling for his character. And Mr. Negative is going to do such a good job at that. Now, hear me out as well. I explained how Mr. Negative, he has a Dark Force power, which can get into mind control, make people fall into deep depression with the negative touch, stuff like that, right? That would probably be the key on how to unlock Savage Hulk, because it could upset the balance between Bruce Banner and Hulk. That's how they're working together right now. That's how Smart Hulk is basically created. They develop a balance and a respect for each other so they can coexist. I can imagine a scene where Spider-Man is already so depressed, like Peter Parker's just trying to figure things out. He runs into Mr. Negative while he's trying to rob a bank or something and they fight. Later on, he may learn about the Hulk or Bruce Banner. Maybe he's like a teacher or something like that. Could you imagine Spider-Man trying to run around the city trying to stop the Hulk? That would be insane. It would be such a W leading into Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. Now on to the last casting and rumor. It's going to be Sadie Sink. Now this one is 100% confirmed. Like I said, she had multiple interviews explaining the excitement she has for this movie, and she has speculations on who the fans think that she's going to be as a character. I think there's two options and I'm going to explain why. The first option is being Gwen Stacy. I think this could be Spider-Man's new love interest now that Zendaya or MJ won't be the love interest anymore. Now that she won't remember him, I think they're going to still drag that along. And he's starting over, so I think he's going to need a new love interest. That's just Peter Parker. Like, that's just who he is. And Marvel has a history of casting redheads and making them blondes and making them be Gwen Stacy. The next option I have, which is kind of a little bit out of the park, but I'm going to say it's going to be Firestar. Now, if you don't know who Firestar is, I know her from the X-Men. She's a very, really cool character. She was playing both sides at one point, being like a double agent. She was very, very huge in the Krakoa era. Look, I really could be reaching, but if you remember back in the day where Spider-Man, Iceman, and Firestar had like that little show and stuff going on, and she had moments with Spider-Man in the comics as well, and then we're gonna have the mutant saga after this, so I'm like, maybe she could be dragged along into that. Like, it would be so cool. The show was called like Spider-Man and like the Amazing Friends. I gotta like double check to see if that's the title, because if she's going to be like a Gwen Stacy and stuff, I think that's cool, but you're getting one of the biggest stars from Stranger Things and you're just gonna make her like a simple like love interest that might not even like go for that long, because once we know at the end of the day Spider-Man's gonna be going back to Mary Jane, so like it wouldn't make sense. I think that she would have like a bigger role if you know what I mean. That's who I would want to see her play. Now a lot of people think like, okay, this would be a very, very good Mary Jane, you know, like she's redheaded, like she looks good. She's going to be like a love interest for Spider-Man. Maybe this would be like the original Mary Jane and we're going back to our roots, right? No. I know a lot of people didn't like the Zendaya casting as MJ at first, and they ended up liking it because they're married in real life, Tom Holland and Zendaya. So they kind of want to be like, oh, let's just backtrack and get a real Mary Jane, and maybe that Zendaya's MJ is not the real MJ in the MCU. I've had this screenshot for so long, but you can see her last name is Watson. This is 110% MJ. There's no other way around it. Like we have to accept that. And you can't tell me that they're going to cast a MJ and have her name be Mary Jane Watson. What, is this going to be her cousin or something? Spider-Man Peter Parker is going to be dating his ex's cousin? Like what are we, like his sister or something? Like what are we doing? So that's why I think this would end up being like a Gwen Stacy or Firestar would make the most sense in my opinion. She would have those type of powers. I know early on a lot of people wanted her to be Jean Grey. I don't know how that would work for this movie, but I'm leaning a lot more towards Firestar. I think that would make the most sense. Now that all the castings and stuff is out the way, here's my full theory on Spider-Man Brand New Day, how I think the movie will go, and how I think it will tie into Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. Spider-Man Brand New Day is going to have a lot of detail about Spider-Man Peter Parker being in depression, not having family, friends, or a girlfriend anymore, figuring his life out and getting a job. I think we're gonna finally see him be a photographer, work for the Daily Bugle. I think we're gonna see a J. Jonah Jameson again. We're going to go back into our Spider-Man roots of him not having anybody to basically sacrifice himself for, and not to save and constantly have somebody that relies on him. Because that's the downfall of Spider-Man's character. Like he has to save Mary Jane, he has to save Gwen Stacy, his girlfriend, his Aunt May. He has to go out his way to sacrifice other people's lives to save the ones that he loves, you know? But now we're gonna go back into the roots of being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and actually having crime scenes, stopping robberies, stopping bank robberies, things like that. We're gonna get to the regular roots of Spider-Man as a character. Now, while he's stopping one of the bank robberies and one of the heists, it's going to be Mr. Negative and his Inner Demons group, and Spider-Man's gonna do his detective work on who they are, why they're doing what they're doing, and he might run into Mr. Negative at one point and he might briefly show his powers, and Spider-Man's gonna be like, man, like what is going on? Like who is this guy? Now that Spider-Man is back in school, I do think Mark Ruffalo's Professor Hulk, or the Smart Hulk if you want to say it's just Bruce Banner, whatever, I think he'll either be teaching a class or he'll be instructing a lab. Obviously science is Peter's thing, and maybe they're doing some type of research on something. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that's what his role will be in this movie. And obviously I think Peter Parker is going to remember him like, dang, like he doesn't even know like who I am. I know we never interacted, but I know this person. Like I know him and he doesn't know me anymore. I think Spider-Man's gonna go full detective mode, find out who Mr. Negative is, where his hideout is at, and that's where we'll see like a fight scene with him. Mr. Negative will fully unleash his powers and see like Spider-Man's like inner demons, you know what I'm saying? Like what happened to him, what happened in Spider-Man No Way Home where everybody forgot who he was. And I think he's going to like learn about Peter's life. It's gonna remind me a lot of The Void. I think like we're gonna see like his Aunt May dying over again constantly. We're gonna see forms of Zendaya and him in his depressive state. I think he's gonna do whatever he possibly can to distract Spider-Man so he can make sure that he's doing what he's doing. And that's when I think Mr. Negative is going to get the Hulk involved. He's gonna upset the balance with Hulk. He's gonna find out who he is. find out who Bruce Banner is, and maybe we'll see like a Mr. Negative versus Hulk situation, and the Savage Hulk comes out, and that's when Hulk is going to be terrorizing the whole entire city. I think it's just going to be such a cool moment, like Spider-Man making jokes with Hulk, Hulk getting even madder, showing how powerful he is again and how bad he could destroy the city. I know it will feel overused, but again, I think this just makes the most sense of what we have right now. I think Spider-Man will win in the sense that he calms the Hulk down, he stops destroying the city, and they actually have a one-on-one conversation and talk. And because the balance is messed up, the Savage Hulk is going to be in control, not Bruce Banner, but the Savage Hulk is a lot more calm and realizing of the situation. A lot of people speculate we'll have this scene where like he's like, oh, I still remember who you are, Spider-Man or Peter Parker, whatever. Tony told me a lot about you. I know we never spoke a lot about it before, but I still have vivid memory from the funeral, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he'll have like a real conversation with him as a savage version of Hulk. And then that's when I think they'll try to stop Mr. Negative again. But I don't think they do. Like, it's really hard for Spider-Man to beat Mr. Negative. It normally is just Mr. Negative saying like, you know what, I'm doing a lot of things wrong. Let me just go back to normal. Or he surrenders himself, things like that. But like, it's very, very hard to beat him with his power set. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear the theory of like, oh, Spider-Man doesn't really win, but the dude just surrenders, or the power of friendship makes him calm down. He wants to turn good. But that's kind of like what happens with these villains. Like, that's just what it is. And assuming Sadie Sink is going to be playing Firestar, I think maybe she's like a classmate at first, and she's doing things on her own. Being like a superhero in a sense, using her mutant powers. And maybe they work together on some things, or maybe she really is just a love interest and he doesn't know that she has powers. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be cool and stuff, like while they're dating or like figuring things out, he later on finds out like, oh my gosh, you have powers too, like what is going on? I don't think her role is going to be like that crazy. Assuming till later on and she does go into the mutant saga and stuff, I think Firestar will be very, very, very cool addition to the X-Men. I think that would be dope. At the end of this movie where everything is just crashing down, Spider-Man is just tired. He's tired of fighting everybody. He hates his life. He's like on his knees. He's just depressed about everything going on. Boom. I think that's when realities is about to start cracking in the sky. The worlds are going to collide, and that's when Battle World is going to happen. Because like I said in Avengers Doomsday, the most of the movie will be talking about Doctor Doom and Reed Richards, obviously, and I think that it'll kind of lead up to the Avengers making an appearance, the X-Men making an appearance, but ultimately these universes will be colliding and starting Battle World, because that's what happens in Avengers Secret Wars in the comics. So I think at the end of the movie, it will be Spider-Man's perspective on the start of Avengers Doomsday, or the ending of Avengers Doomsday, if you will, and how Battleworld will be a major problem. I don't think Spider-Man will be in Avengers Doomsday a lot. I think he'll be in the movie towards the end of it when that is happening, because it'll be picking up off of Spider-Man Brand New Day and going into Avengers Doomsday. I think like it'll see his perspective, and then when we go into Avengers Doomsday and Battleworld starts to happen, that's when Spider-Man's gonna swing in. He's gonna be like, bro, what is going on here? And you know, it's gonna be continuous. And I think that's how we're gonna get like the street tier movie, and then it's going to end in like the multiversal aspect. You get what I'm saying? And I think this movie's going to be amazing. Like the Spider-Man director, he directed Shang-Chi, and he's really, really good with action. And when you have somebody like Mr. Negative and his Inner Demons group who's really good at fighting, and it's a crime boss movie, you're going to have high-speed chases, like I said, robberies, a lot of gunfire and mythical elements, things like that, while having a well-established Savage Hulk disrupt the whole entire city, running around causing mayhem and stuff. A lot of that action is going to be so well directed by this director, man. That's why I'm really, really excited for it. Look, Spider-Man is the face of the MCU right now. He's your poster child. You have to take really, really good care of him. This movie is in a very weird spot because we're still in the multiverse saga, and the deal with Sony, obviously, you have to add all these characters in it. But I think in terms of his character and what I want to see with like the grounded stuff with Daredevil and Kingpin and stuff, more crime stuff, I think we'll get a taste of that. But I still think the multiversal element and the saga and how it's going to be the main focus with Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, that stuff is going to like be way more important than just a regular street film for Spider-Man. But yeah, that's my theory. I think that's how Spider-Man Brand New Day will go. I think it's going to be good. Tom Holland is just like, you hit on that cast. I think he's going to be your next Spider-Man for like the next decade. Hopefully, I hope he's just not in these final 3 movies and that's it. He signed a very, very hefty contract. I think he's going to get multiple Spider-Man movies. Like, they can't let him go. He's just too good as playing Spider-Man, man. Like, truly. That will be the end of this video. Let me know what you guys want to see next. I appreciate you guys for watching. If you want more content from me, follow my TikTok and Instagram. I am very active on both. Remember, if you have dreams, please go chase them. Don't waste your life doing something you don't want to do. But thank you guys for watching this video. I'll see y'all in the next one.